It was one of the most controversial trials of 2012. Jerry Sandusky, the former Penn State football coach, shed light on a problem affecting more than 39 million Americans: sexual abuse.
But for one Olympic hopeful, it was more than just headlines, and now she's using her weakest days to make it all the way to the top.
They fight.
She's gone off very, very hard.
They push.
The full twisting double back.
They win.
Oh, yes, he has.
Today, world champion Kayla Harrison is gearing for gold. But today is not the day she's been dreaming about. This one is.
I am on the 2012 U.S. Judo Olympic team.
And she's vying to become the first American woman to bring home an Olympic gold medal in judo this summer. But for 3 years, she lived with a secret. She was sexually abused by her former coach. Kayla was just 13 years old.
I didn't know what to do, what to expect, or what to say.
An investigation by ABC's 2020 revealed 36 swimming coaches were banned by USA Swimming for allegations of sexual misconduct. Last year, Dawn Peters, who coached the 1984 U.S. Olympic gymnastic team, resigned amid allegations of sexual abuse.
It is no longer a secret that just happens behind closed doors.
Licensed psychologist Deborah Day says often young girls are groomed into a sexual relationship before they even realize they are involved in it.
They become distorted in what they believe is happening.
Kayla thought she was in love.
In my mind, it was a full-blown relationship. I was brainwashed.
Often a power paradigm is involved. Predators will start to make the victims feel like they are more special than their peers.
I spent every minute that I could with Daniel, and he was really, really good at making me feel like he was the only one I needed.
The National Council of Youth Sports has been trying to find the best way to screen coaches for at least a decade, and the U.S. Olympic Committee also announced it would centralize and standardize background check programs across all 32 Olympic sports. But Dr. Day says parents can help by looking for unexplained behavioral changes in their child and asking questions. Kayla did what most victims can't do. She pressed charges and faced her abuser in court.
I remember February 28th, 2008.
Daniel Doyle was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison and banned from judo for life.
He turned around and he said, "I love you," and then I never saw him again.
She's turned her dark days into a positive, ranking second in the world.
Although it feels like you're in a prison and you can't get out, you can. And there is help out there, and there are people who can.
And she's taking that newfound strength all the way to London.
I am mentally tougher than anyone I know, and that's why I'm going to win the Olympics.
And Kayla will enter the London 2012 Olympic Games as the brightest medal contender for the United States in judo.
At least 2 additional U.S. swimming coaches have pleaded guilty to sexual misconduct charges with young swimmers since the investigation aired. More are under investigation.
And it seems more incidences of child sexual abuse are coming to light.
And our next guest is a child therapist with Life Crisis Center in Salisbury, Farrah Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. Farrah, I got to ask, right off the bat, it seems like there are so many children that are sharing what's going on, but there are some that still are not. Why do you think some kids just don't tell?
Well, I think that is the question of why kids don't tell, that they are afraid. As Kayla presented in the story, sometimes they think that it's been normalized and so it's okay. And they're afraid of reporting, of talking to police, of talking to people at court, investigators, and it's something sometimes that's very embarrassing or puts in a lot of fear for them. Sometimes they've been threatened.
Right, so it's us as parents, we need to really be looking out for our children. Is there something we need to look for, any kind of signs?
Well, I think one of the most difficult things as a parent is that a lot of times there are no signs. So there are some children who are being abused and you see nothing because they are covering so well for keeping the secret. But some signs sometimes that we do see are changes in behavior. Mood changes, angry, withdrawn, not wanting to be around a certain person. Sometimes there are sleeping issues, nightmares, bathroom issues, but very often there are no outward signs that we see.
Well, hopefully we don't see those signs.
Right.
Before maybe we do see those type of signs. Is there something that we can do, something hands-on that we can do to help prevent the risk?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things that parents can do is to make sure that you know what the policies and procedures are of, say, a sports program, if we're talking about that. Are there one-on-one circumstances? Who's in the locker room and the showers with the kids? Is it only one adult? If you can eliminate the one-on-one with coaches and things, sometimes that is very helpful in reducing the risk. Also, just keeping the conversation open. The old good touch, bad touch, stranger danger things aren't necessarily the leading thing, just because it really isn't the child who can always fend things off. So it's us as adults and parents that need to really be paying attention. So keeping that conversation open with them about if they feel uncomfortable, that they can come to you and they can talk, and remaining open about that.
Now, what if we do suspect there's some abuse going on? How should we approach it? Who should we tell?
Well, that's the other thing, is who as adults do we tell, because it's anxiety provoking for us. And so one of the biggest things is remaining as calm as you can, because the biggest predictor of success for kids is that we believe the child and that we remain calm. Limiting questions and just allowing the child to talk when they present information to you, just saying, you know, can you tell me more about that? Trying to get specifics, if you can, about time and place, because that can be helpful for investigators, and reassuring them that they're not in trouble, because that can be a very big anxiety-provoking thing, and another reason why kids don't tell.
Obviously, we've got to report it. Who do we call?
Well, you can call emergency services, but generally we tell people to call Department of Social Services in your county. So wherever you're living, contact the Department of Social Services.
And now, you know, a lot of coaches, they were talking in the piece about background checks. They're trying to do checks on coaches and teachers, for that matter. Is that enough?
Well, it's a good start, but it isn't enough, because when you're looking at a background check, you're looking at someone who's been indicted, convicted, charged, and that isn't something that comes up for someone who's been able to keep the secret very well. And so, especially with some of these coaching instances where we see, you know, one person talks about it and then someone else talks about it and someone else talks about it, that the numbers seem staggering. But when you have this kind of code of secrecy, and usually they're very successful, they're very good at their job, but they're also very good at having kids understand and know kind of where the boundaries are of what they should be telling and what they shouldn't. And so the secret gets kept.
Wow. Farrah from Life Crisis, thank you so much for sharing this incredibly important information. It's invaluable. Now, if you would like to know more about Life Crisis, or you can log on to our website, delmarvalife.com, and just click on the show page.
And from protecting your children in the real world to protecting them in the online world.
Just ahead, some simple steps that you can take to become a cyber-savvy parent, and how it can go a long way in protecting your child online. Delmarva Life, life at its best, here on Delmarva.